Twitter has permanently suspended Donald Trump's personal account and some of those associated with him, following what the social media firm called a close review of recent posts. It concluded that allowing the US president access could lead to further incitements of violence. Meanwhile, Democrats have circulated a draft of a new impeachment resolution against the president, accusing him of high crimes and misdemeanors. If adopted, the resolution could mean Mr. Trump becomes the only US president ever to face impeachment twice. The Queen and the Duke of Edinburgh, who are both in their 90s, have received COVID-19 vaccinations, Buckingham Palace has confirmed. A royal source said the vaccinations were administered on Saturday by a household doctor at Windsor Castle. It comes as the UK crosses the 3 million cases mark since the start of the pandemic. The grim milestone comes as nearly 60,000 people tested positive for COVID-19 on Saturday, with over 1,000 deaths.
Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei says Iran is not in a hurry to rejoin a 2015 nuclear deal, but demanded an end to restrictions on his country. The Indonesian government has released from prison a cleric suspected of planning the deadly 2002 bombing in Bali. In South Korea, a court orders Japan to pay 12 South Koreans for forced sex labor during World War II. Japan called the ruling unacceptable. And in Ivory Coast, opposition parties promised to take part in legislative elections on March 6th.
The Labor Department's December employment report shows a decline of 140,000 jobs, marking an end to 7 months of job growth amid rising COVID infections and new restrictions on businesses. The unemployment rate held steady at 6.7%. The leisure and hospitality industries lost nearly 500,000 jobs. Gains in retail, manufacturing, and construction offset some of those losses. The Paycheck Protection Program, that's the government's pandemic small business loan program, will reopen on Monday. The scaled-down relaunch is geared mostly toward businesses with 300 or fewer employees who've already received a loan and can demonstrate need for another. And the UK's health regulator authorized the widespread use of Moderna's COVID-19 vaccine. The shot, which is already being rolled out in the US, will be available in the UK in the spring as production ramps up. Britain is the first Western nation to have cleared 3 vaccines. It's aiming to vaccinate about 2 million people a week in an effort to protect those most vulnerable.
We begin here in Japan, where officials confirmed over 7,700 new coronavirus cases on Saturday. That comes as Tokyo and 3 neighboring prefectures face the first weekend of their latest state of emergency. Tokyo reported 2,268 new infections, its 3rd straight day with more than 2,000 cases. Nearby Kanagawa, Saitama, and Chiba prefectures confirmed record numbers of cases. The state of emergency is casting a shadow over tourism. Tokyo Skytree is usually bustling with visitors on the weekend. It was much quieter on Saturday.
I wouldn't have come if it was likely to be crowded, but I decided to visit as I thought it would probably be quieter than usual.
Hakone is a major sightseeing spot in Kanagawa, but tourists have been staying away.
The number of people has been down since the start of the year, and I feel like it's dropping further now.
Under the state of emergency, bars and restaurants are being asked to close by 8 in the evening. Residents are urged to avoid non-essential outings after that time. But it seems the message isn't getting through to everybody. NHK analyzed data compiled by IT firm Toreta. It shows the number of visitors to restaurants after 8 p.m. is up by 18% from the first state of emergency. The figure for people visiting at lunchtime was nearly triple the last emergency declaration.
It's important for people to refrain from going to restaurants, not only at night, but also during the day. It's necessary to avoid talking across tables as much as possible. It's essential for everyone to change their behavior.
Authorities reported 59 fatalities across the country on Saturday. That brings the overall death toll to more than 4,000. Over 800 people are in serious condition. Japan is tightening its border controls in the face of the pandemic. All people entering the country must submit negative coronavirus test results certified in the 72 hours leading to their departure. The step kicks in on Wednesday and will likely last until the state of emergency ends. Entrants will also face tests when they arrive at airports. People who can't submit certification will be asked to self-quarantine at designated facilities. They will then take tests on their third day in Japan. All entrants will also be asked to self-quarantine at home or elsewhere for 14 days. In a related development, NHK has learned the government is considering revising the quarantine law. People who refuse to isolate for 2 weeks would face criminal punishments, such as imprisonment and fines. Some arrivals are not currently complying with self-quarantine requests, which lack the force of law. Officials in China have told the residents of 2 cities near Beijing to stay home for at least 7 days. This comes as coronavirus cases continue to increase in Hubei province. The National Health Commission says 334 new infections were confirmed in Hubei during the week through Friday. The tally includes people without symptoms. Many of the cases were in the provincial capital of Shijiazhuang. The city has launched an effort to test more than 10 million residents. Local authorities have also told people to stay home for at least 1 week after their PCR tests. Authorities say similar steps are being taken in neighboring Xingdai. The city has about 7 million residents. China previously said the coronavirus outbreak was basically under control in the country, but new infections have also been confirmed in the northeastern province of Liaoning. U.S. pharmaceutical giant Pfizer says the test indicates its coronavirus vaccine works against the new COVID-19 variants found in Britain and South Africa. Scientists performed a test using artificially made viruses with the same mutation in the so-called spike protein as the variants. The spike protein plays a crucial role when the virus infects human cells. The scientists checked to see if the mutated viruses were neutralized in blood samples taken from recipients of the inoculation. They found the vaccine appears to be as effective as it is against conventional strains. Pfizer said the findings show the mutation found in the variants does not develop resistance to its vaccine. But the company noted further study is needed to monitor the jab's effectiveness against the mutated virus variants. Authorities in Indonesia are searching for a plane that disappeared from radar screens shortly after takeoff on Saturday. They believe it crashed in the sea. The Sriwijaya Boeing 737-500 took off from the capital Jakarta on a domestic flight. It was bound for the city of Pontianak in West Kalimantan province. Transportation officials say the passenger plane departed at 2:36 p.m. local time and veered off course about 4 minutes later. They told reporters 62 Indonesian people were on board the flight, including a dozen crew members. Officials say they recovered what may be parts of the plane in waters close to where the craft went missing. U.S. media are reporting the opposition Democrats will launch a process to impeach President Donald Trump as early as Monday. That's in the wake of Wednesday's violent siege of the Capitol by his supporters. Trump could be the first U.S. president to be impeached twice, but the chance of removing him from office could be small as his term ends on January 20th and his own Republican Party controls the Senate, where an impeachment trial would take place. On Wednesday, Trump supporters stormed into the Capitol and disrupted a joint session of Congress where Joe Biden's election victory was being certified. The president had urged them to march down to the building. The incident left 5 people dead. U.S. authorities are trying to take action against people who broke into the Capitol. A federal prosecutor announced on Friday that a man is in custody after he was photographed sitting at a desk in House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's office. Meanwhile, Trump says he's going to skip the inauguration to swear in Joe Biden as the 46th president of the United States at a ceremony in Washington, D.C. In a tweet on Friday, Trump said, "To all of those who have asked, I will not be going to the inauguration on January 20th. It is a U.S. tradition that outgoing presidents attend the swearing-in of a new leader. President Barack Obama attended Trump's inauguration 4 years ago." President-elect Biden has expressed concern about delays in confirmation of his cabinet nominees by the Senate.
Well, it's my expectation and hope that the Senate will now move to confirm these nominees promptly and fairly. This is especially the case for the nominees of Secretary of State, Defense, Treasury, Homeland Security.
Biden says he has nominated all 15 cabinet secretaries. He is calling for swift confirmation in consideration of the threats and dangers facing the world. He also says he is moving quickly to appoint senior White House officials. Behind the delay in the confirmation process was the uncertainty about who would control the Senate that continued until this month's runoff vote in Georgia. President Donald Trump's failure to acknowledge his election defeat was also a factor. A confirmation hearing is scheduled for January 19th for Biden's pick for Defense Secretary, retired Army General Lloyd Austin. However, no other hearings have been scheduled so far. Those were the stories.
The manhunt is underway nationwide to track down those involved in Wednesday's deadly riot at the Capitol. ABC's Kenneth Moten is in Washington, D.C. with the latest arrests and charges filed. Kenneth, good morning to you.
Whit, good morning. Federal and local authorities have quite the challenge here in D.C. With so many investigations underway, authorities say more charges and arrests are expected in the coming days, weeks, and months. This morning, that nationwide manhunt is intensifying for the pro-Trump rioters in the deadly and violent Capitol breach. Law enforcement combing through social media posts, surveillance video, and mountains of cell phone data, receiving thousands of tips after the release of these BOLO posters. New video appearing to show an Associated Press photographer being assaulted by the mob. Thousands were there, but so far only 13 charged in federal court. Authorities IDing this man at House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's desk. This morning, the suspect, Richard Barnett, in custody in Arkansas. These new images show Barnett turning himself into authorities.
Those actions cannot be tolerated, and those people must be held accountable.
Overnight, Adam Johnson, the man seen carrying Speaker Pelosi's lectern through the Capitol building, arrested in his home state of Florida. Alabama resident Lonnie Kaufman arrested Friday. D.C. police say he was armed with a military-style semi-automatic rifle and 11 Molotov cocktails. Kaufman, according to a complaint, later denied knowing anything about the bombs. West Virginia State Delegate Derek Evans also charged. We're in! A complaint alleges he posted that video online showing him entering the Capitol. Evans' attorney says he was exercising his First Amendment and did nothing wrong. Federal agents are also investigating why this rioter, seen in the Senate chamber, was carrying zip ties. And they're also looking for this man, suspected of planting pipe bombs at the nearby RNC and DNC headquarters. Other suspected rioters dealing with the fallout. The Seattle Police Department says it has put 2 of its officers on administrative leave after learning they were reportedly in Washington on Wednesday. U.S. attorneys around the country pledging to prosecute anyone who violated federal law.
There are a myriad of laws that can be, federal laws that can be utilized in cases like this. Firearms offenses, crossing state lines, explosives, of course, crossing state lines.
We will never give up. We will never concede.
At that rally before the Capitol chaos, a senior Justice Department official says no incitement charges are expected against any speakers. Before the president and his allies took the stage, Don Jr. posted this now deleted video of the Trump family backstage watching the rally crowd.
Yes, have the courage to do the right thing. Fight!
This morning, there are multiple large-scale investigations, including federal murder. Capitol Police Officer Brian Sicknick passed away Thursday, sustaining injuries in the violent siege. His family asking that his death not be made into a political issue, adding that he is a hero, and that is what he would like people to remember. All 5 deaths are being investigated, from the Trump supporter who was shot and killed to Officer Sicknick. Authorities are still trying to determine how he died. Sources say investigators believe it was from a medical condition, but they're still looking into the possibility that he was attacked. Eva.
Kenneth Moten for us there. Thank you.